Welcome to Magic Arcanum. I'm Ryan Gomez. Behind the scenes is Nicole Letson, and we're so glad you're here because it's story time. Nicole and I created this show to help tell the stories behind the cards, and today, that's a little bit trickier than usual. We're talking about War of the Spark Forsaken by Greg Weisman. It's the latest book in the Magic the Gathering story, but it's actually the sequel to a book that came out earlier this year. So if you are new to what's going on in the game, this is not a great place to start learning about the lore. With that said, I'm going to be spoiling pretty much the entire plot of the book, and I'm going to assume you're familiar with most of the characters in the story because we have a lot to cover. And as they say, ain't nobody got time for that. First, though, let me say thank you to everyone who helps make this show possible through their support on Patreon. Pledging as little as $1 a month gets you access to our exclusive Discord server, where we talk about the lore, swap deck ideas, and just generally hang out and have a good time. You can find the link down in the description below. Oh, and before I get started, let me just confirm what you probably heard on Reddit and Twitter and everywhere else. The book is not well written. But that's okay. My job is to explain what happens and not get hung up on the description of how it happens. So with all of that in mind, let's take a look at what happens in War of the Spark Forsaken. The first thing you need to know is Liliana Vess is no longer Liliana Vess. This is a big deal and probably the single thing most likely to appear on a future Magic card. So let me explain. At the start of the book, Liliana is on the run. She goes home to Dominaria because she can't think of anywhere else to go. And she's in a really bad spot, like emotionally. She considers drowning herself in a swamp so she doesn't have to live with the survivor's guilt she's experiencing after Gideon's sacrifice. She takes a kind of grim satisfaction in how good-looking of a corpse she will leave behind, and what a puzzle it will be for anyone who digs her up because they won't be able to tell how old she really was when she died. She's unable to go through with that, though, and instead gets visited by the Raven Man. Don't get too excited because we learn nothing new about this guy. He just shows up and tells Liliana things will get better if she lets him guide her through this. To her credit, she says she's done being anyone's pawn and she ignores him. Then Liliana heads back to the Vess family manor where things get kind of wacky. She encounters a female Cabal agent who is using the name Liliana Vess to rally other members of the Cabal. They're all looking for fresh leadership since Belzenlock is dead. We also learn that Zahid is there, and he's helping the Cabal agent pull off her impersonation of Liliana. And together, they have enslaved all the local people and are making them rebuild the Vess family manor. So all of this is happening so that we can take pity on Liliana. She's suicidal. She's done listening to anyone else. She just wants to come home and find some peace. And instead she finds an imposter using her name, helped by a djinn, and just having a really bad day, you know? Then Kaya arrives, ready to assassinate her. Liliana doesn't put up much fight. She's kind of ready to accept her fate, but she does ask for one last wish from Kaya. Help me remove this pretender from my home so my family name can have some dignity back, and I will let you kill me, she says. Kaya agrees to this because she doesn't exactly love the idea of someone enslaving the local populace, and she admits Liliana would be helpful in this fight. So the two of them together defeat the Cabal agent and Zahid, and all the other draft chaff hanging out at the mansion. Then Liliana shares her side of the story for War of the Spark. She explains how Bolas made her do terrible things, but even then she tried to minimize the damage. Things like not sending Eternals indoors until she really had to. So Kaya sees that there is some good in Liliana, and she decides to take a gamble and let Liliana live. They stash her on Fiora, the plane where the conspiracy sets take place. Liliana gives up the chain veil, which Kaya uses as proof to show everyone else Liliana must be dead, because everyone thinks there's no way Liliana would give that thing up while she's still alive. That supremely powerful artifact is now in the hands of Niv Mizzet, by the way. He's got it locked away in a magical puzzle box, so that might maybe be someday really important. Liliana, meanwhile, had to go into hiding and adopt a new name for herself. She chose Anna Iora. Now, you might remember Gideon's real name was Kithian Iora. So it seems Liliana has adopted his last name as her new one. She tells herself she doesn't know where she got that name from, though. She thinks she picked it because it rhymes with Fiora, where she is. So it wasn't a conscious decision to use Gideon's name. Let me make that clear. The next time we see Liliana Vess on a magic card, it will probably be named Anna Iora, but the type line will still be Liliana. That's my guess. So in summary, Liliana is still alive, but living with a different name, and she is trying to overcome all of the guilt about everything she did on Ravnica. Got it? Good. Now, let me tell you who's not still alive. Dovan Ban. In our mysteries video, I said, I don't think anyone's going to die in this book, and it turns out I was wrong. But in our prediction video on who dies in War of the Spark, I did think Dovan was going to die. So, either way, I'm kind of right? Dovan was hunted down by Vraska, but he made a deal for his own life. He promised to help her make things better for the Golgari swarm. So just like how Liliana and Kaya faked Liliana's death, Dovan and Vraska schemed up a way to fake Dovan's death. Unfortunately, someone else learned that Dovan was still alive and took care of him their own way. And this is going to get a little confusing, so try and stay with me here. Dovan was killed by Rat, a 16-year-old girl who was introduced in the other War of the Spark book. Rat is special because for most people, she's invisible. Only a handful of characters can actually see her, and we find out in this book, one of the ones who can is Lazav. Lazav is the leader of House Demir, and he realized how useful a truly invisible person could be to the guild. So he brainwashed Rat when she was a young girl and turned her into a master assassin. You remember the Winter Soldier? I hope so, because it's a lot like that. Lazav can activate Rat, and she assumes the identity of a vampire assassin named Tar, which is Rat spelled backwards. After her assassinations are complete, Rat has no memory of them, nothing. So she has no idea she is a master assassin, and certainly no idea she is the one who killed Dovan Ban. Lazav has also been communicating with Tezzeret. It seems the two of them are conspiring to do something to Ravnica, but we don't really know what yet. I don't think Niv Mizzet is going to let that stand once he gets wind of it, and he might be the only creature who's better at uncovering secrets than Lazav. So we'll have to see what happens the next time we return to Ravnica. You know. You may remember Ral Zarek was supposed to hunt down Tezzeret, and he did. But Tezzeret was super ready for him and kicked Ral's ass. But then Tezzeret took off his Ethereum arm and gave it to Ral, telling him to use it as proof that he defeated him. Tezzeret was banking on Ral's vanity to fake his own death so he could continue to operate out of the shadows. But Ral went right back to Ravnica and admitted that he lost, so everybody knows Tezzeret's still out there. This could have serious repercussions for Ral, especially because Lazav is in on the whole thing, and Lazav has his own personal invisible assassin who could make life really hard for Ral, or make life really short for Ral. The book also revealed two important things about Kaya, so let's talk about those real quick. Number one, we now know her home plane, and that is where she's heading next. Kaya is off to Tolvada, where the sky is broken and the inhabitants are slowly going mad. She's bringing with her Teo and Anna Iora and Rat. Earlier, I mentioned Rat is invisible, but I did not mention that she's a planeswalker because she's not. So how is she getting from Ravnica to Tolvada? Turns out Kaya has the ability to bring one creature or person along with her when she planeswalks. She can extend her ghost form around them and protect them as they navigate through the blind eternities. Again, I am not here to comment on if this is good writing or not. I am just telling you Kaya has the ability to transport people around, and she is using this ability to bring Rat, the invisible Dimir assassin, along with her. I will say this though, Kaya's home plane was supposed to be a great big mystery. It is revealed on literally the last page of the book. Or it would have been, except it was also revealed in the character bios on the first page of the book. So anyway, we now know Kaya's home, which was a big mystery, but now it's not. So those are the things to know from War of the Spark Forsaken. Dovin is dead. Liliana is alive but has a new name, and she is on her way to Tolvada with Kaya, Teo, and Rat. And things on Ravnica look good on the surface, but underneath they are being driven by Tezzeret and Lazav. And to address some of the smaller parts from this book, I'm going to use a segment I call Mustache Minute. Ready? Here we go. We learn that the Wanderer wears a gold mask under her big hat to cover a scarred face she got in a fight with Tezzeret. We also learn that she is able to track planeswalkers long after they have left a plane. The more we learn about her, the more mysterious she becomes. At this point, I'm pretty confident in saying she is not Emrakul or anyone else that we already know. She seems to be a genuinely new character and is probably one of the best things going for the Magic story right now. I hope it stays that way. Jace thinks Liliana really is dead because he went to Dominaria and found the charred remains of the woman who was pretending to be Liliana Vess. So when he learns that she's really alive, oh boy, are we in for a treat. Chandra and Nissa had about 3 years worth of relationship building knocked down in about 2 pages of internal dialogue. And while everyone's focusing on that, I'd like to point out that's kind of the theme for this whole ridiculous story. Let me be clear, nobody's getting a happy ending. Nobody is getting what they want, which is unfortunate because after a 3-year-long arc and losing Gideon, you'd think the Gatewatch are due for a break and maybe deserve a bit of happiness. I mean, even most of the Avengers got to bounce back after Thanos, but it seems the Magic story does not want to take its foot off the gas. So Jace is now heading back to his home plane, Vryn, alone. Kaya is heading back to her home plane with Liliana Vess, probably the least trustworthy person in the whole multiverse at this point. And Vraska is staying on her home plane, Ravnica, to try and get the Golgari back under control, but without Dovin's help, that's going to be really hard, especially because Lazav knows she lied about killing Dovin. There was a chapter in which Gideon's remains were buried on Theros, but everyone left immediately after, so I don't think we'll be seeing any of these characters in Beyond Death come January. Oh, and Liliana had the Spirit Gem, which she plucked off of Nicol Bolas at the end of War of the Spark. Ugin spoke to her through the gem on Dominaria and told her it would help her to unlock her very best self, which is what started the whole rebirth through Anna Iora thing. But that gem is gone now, probably back with Ugin in the prison realm somehow. What else? Okay, Huatli sings a really nice, memory poem song about Gideon during the funeral, so that was neat. And Vraska and Jace bang, a couple of times, but now their relationship is on the rocks. Jace doesn't really trust Vraska. She's committed to the Golgari, doesn't really have room in her life for a boyfriend, so they're probably going to split up soon. And, perhaps most importantly, we learn nothing new about Kasmina. Can you believe that? She wasn't in the book at all. So that's it. That's War of the Spark Forsaken. It wraps up a couple of mysteries, but jump starts a bunch more. And I remain excited about the Magic story overall. I just really hope that Theros puts us back on a good course, because that's one of my favorite planes, and I want to see things moving forward here in a good way. But we'll see. Hey, I got a question for you. What do you think Anna Iora's card is going to look like when it invariably shows up? Huh? Let me know down in the comments, and then make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the great stories you'll only find here on Magic Arcanum. I'll see ya!